This is just a recap on science. Science sits atop its pretentious perch and pontificates this superfluous nomenclature that they superimpose over everything that they had absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with the creation of. And they give you these detailed explanations and descriptions that we're supposed to take at face value as to be the absolute truth. Science didn't create the universe. Mathematics is not the universal language. It isn't. Math is roughly around 4,000 years old. The infinite is unquantifiable. Mathematics is inapplicable to the infinite simply because the infinite is unquantifiable. Everything goes on forever in every direction. Mathematics wasn't used to create anything that you call a universe, or the sun, or a soul, or a seed, or an egg, or the wind. So you have to really take a good look at what they're telling you. Instead of just taking it at face value and not even giving it a second thought, just analyze these things. Science is not responsible for anything. How can human beings who've only been around for a few million years, who've generated a system called science, which is roughly less than a few thousand years old, stand atop a pretentious pedestal and pontificate these things to you that you believe to be the truth? They generate all of these narratives that you believe to be the truth, but they're not. This is a system that has contrived a superfluously convoluted nomenclature that they superimpose over elements that they themselves had absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with the creation of. Please listen to what I'm trying to say. Science does not make the seas rise and fall. Mathematics did not create the trees and the seasons and the tides. Calculus and chemistry have nothing whatsoever to what you're looking at as far as a universe. Nothing whatsoever with the creation of these things. So ask yourself, if these things have existed forever and ever, and along comes human beings only a few million years ago, and that was the primitives, how long did it take them to evolve to a point where they could start formulating systems such as science and math? Many millions of years. That's why these things are only a few thousand years old, if that. So there you go. How can a species pontificate and speak about things that they had absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with the creation of through systems that are even younger than they are? Think about the lunacy of this stuff. I think science is cool. All the tech and the gadgets, I think it's awesome. The internet, cell phones, satellites, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's not a good thing when they use it for good purposes. But look what they're using technology for these days. They're using it to get you to be addicted to it, to control you with it. And that's exactly what's going on. But my issue with science is that when they start taking that pretentious posture, these scientists, these astronomers, and all of these physicists, and all these very detailed titles that they carry, and they come up and say, well, the sun and, the nucleus of the sun is this, and it's got this type of a core, and they don't know what they're talking about. They can't. And what do they refer to for this information? Equipment that they designed and built themselves. The systems that they fabricated and programmed and wrote the software for. So they're actually referring to themselves for this answers that they're getting to give you. So they create a system called science that had absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with anything that you call a universe. And then they create computers to analyze things and study things and feedback information and data. And then they study the data. And then they tell you, okay, they'll give you a description about this or an explanation about that. But again, think about what I said before. How can a species that's only been around for less than 3.5 million years have anything to say about something that it had absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with the creation of, that has existed forever? It can't. And then the systems that they create, that they call their sciences, such as math and physics, have only been around for 4,000 years or less. And then the machines that they use, computers and satellites to analyze what they call a universe, or even younger than they are, and younger than their systems. Computers have not been around for 5,000 years, and I know you're probably thinking the abacus. That's a calculation device. That's not a computer. I'm talking about an electronic device. That's what I'm referring to. Because math is nothing more than fancy bean counting. It has nothing to do with the universe. How could it? It has nothing to do with geometry or trigonometry or calculus or physics or anything. That's what they want you to believe. They fabricated the superfluously convoluted nomenclature that they superimpose over things that they had absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with the creation of. You can rewind that back and listen to it over and over again because it is the truth. How can a species that wasn't even created have the pretentious gall to start pontificating over things that weren't even in existence when these things were created, and who knows when they were? My personal feelings are that they've always been, and they always will be. So it's just some food for thought. Stop taking what they're saying at face value to be the absolute unwavering truth. Undebatable, irrefutable, because it isn't. It just sounds right, and you go with it because you trust them, because they're scientists. That's why they say follow the science, trust the science, listen to the science, never question science. Well, you need to question everything they're saying, because everything they're saying is not the truth. And again, I'm not saying that science isn't cool, because it is cool. But it isn't something that they have contrived on their own. It's something that they have been allowed to formulate and piece together because the universe has actually given them everything they need to put these things together. Because human beings are incapable of creating something from nothing. Because if you really think about it, you're not a creator. You're actually an assembler. Because you're not creating something from nothing. Because you're given all of the tools, you're given all of the pieces and the parts, right? And you're just putting things together. You're actually not creating something from nothing. Source gives you everything you need. Just like a factory worker goes to work, then there's all the parts and pieces. They've been given the training and the know-how and the tools to assemble these things. So you're not a creator like God is, because God is the only source that can create something from nothing. You are a custom assembler, so to speak, like a cosmic assembler, really. That's really all that we are. We're just taking what's already readily available to us in the environment. We're sourcing it for our own needs and putting things together. Everything that you use comes from the earth. Because if people can create something from nothing, then you would be able to do just that. That's why I've said in a previous video, thoughts do not become things. Because if you believe this to be the truth, then open the palm of your hand and manifest an apple seed in the middle of the palm of your hand from absolute nothingness. And keep thinking as long and as hard as you want, and you will not be able to do it. Because you cannot make something from nothing appear. Only source can do that. When you pass from here, you can, because you're no longer limited by the hindrances of the physical. But in this physical, no. Unless your spirit guides or something are passing things through that sheet they call a veil. That can be done. I've had it happen to me personally. But don't follow anything. Question everything. Because especially when it comes to matters such as the universe and the earth and this and that, they don't even know 5% of what's on this earth, let alone telling you we know the everything of everything. Before I close out this video, let me give you a little example. Back in the early 1930s, I believe it was 1933, scientists up until that point had believed that the coelacanth had been extinct for 83 million years. It's a fish, the coelacanth. A few scientists went to Africa. I believe it was South Africa. And they went to the port where the fishermen were coming in from having their day's catch. And a few scientists just were trolling around, looking around, and they were shocked to discover what these fishermen were bringing back from the ocean. They were coelacanths. That science had said itself that this fish was extinct for over 83 million years. And if you don't believe me, go do your research. And there's your science. They don't know what they're talking about. Pluto is a planet. Pluto isn't a planet. Pluto's a planet. Pluto isn't a planet. They have no clue what they're talking about because they had nothing to do with the creation of it. But they point their pretentious finger and they pontificate as if they're God. Again, they create this unnecessarily superfluous nomenclature that's incredibly convoluted, that they superimpose over the things that they had absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with the creation of. Just like they say Christopher Columbus discovered America. No, he didn't. He was a pirate and a pedophile and a freaking thief. He was sailing for Spain, but he was an Italian pirate. You know? And when he got to the Americas, guess who greeted him? The indigenous. Leif Erikson was here 5,000 years before him, and when he landed on the shores of the Americas, guess who greeted him? The indigenous. You know? History is just that. His story. Written by the same few that are writing the narrative that controls your mind. That's why they say, tell a vision. Television. I hope you're catching on. I sincerely do. God bless you.